Okay, so you're thinking about oil stocks, huh? Maybe energy prices are looking good, or maybe you just want to, diversify that portfolio a bit.
Smart move.
Definitely a smart move.
Yeah.
But where do you even begin?
Right.
Well, there's this Motley Fool article we're diving into today, and it
Okay.
compares two pretty big players.
Yeah.
Chevron, kind of the giant in the industry,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then there's Devon Energy.
Okay.
And they focus only on pulling that oil and gas out of the ground.
Interesting.
So which one comes out on top?
Yeah.
I guess that's what we're here to figure out.
It's like picking between, like a seasoned all-star versus the up-and-coming rookie sensation.
Yeah.
They both have the potential for those big wins,
For sure.
but the risks and rewards, well, they're definitely different.
Totally. And this article really hits on a key point right up front.
Okay.
Oil prices, man, they're like a roller coaster, constantly up and down.
Yeah.
Supply and demand, global events, all that stuff factors in.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So how does Chevron and Devon, how do they navigate this wild ride?
Well, the article breaks down the energy sector into three main parts: upstream, midstream, and downstream.
Okay.
Think of it like a river, right?
Okay, like a river. I like that.
Upstream is where companies like Devon operate. They're pulling that oil and gas out of the ground.
Got it. So at the source.
Exactly.
Okay.
Then you've got midstream, which is all about transporting and storing that energy.
Uh-huh.
And then you have the downstream companies, like parts of Chevron, who are refining and selling it to us.
Oh, right, like at gas stations.
Exactly.
Okay, so Devon, they're really riding the waves of those price swings.
Right.
So if oil prices dip, their stock might take a hit.
Yeah, exactly. But the article does say that Devon has a really strong balance sheet.
Okay.
So they're not drowning in debt or anything like that.
Good.
And their production costs are they're pretty good.
Okay.
Plus, they've got enough resources to keep pumping for like a decade. And they even offer a dividend yield of almost 4%, which is
Nice.
It's like a little bonus,
Yeah, just for owning their stock.
Exactly.
Okay, so there's potential for growth, but it does sound, I don't know, a little risky.
Yeah.
Maybe for someone who prefers like a steadier ride.
Mm-hmm.
So Chevron, how do they stack up?
Right.
They're involved in all three parts of the energy sector.
They are, yeah. Upstream, midstream, and downstream.
Wow, okay.
Which gives them a bit of a buffer, against those price fluctuations.
Yeah.
They're not totally reliant on just pulling oil out of the ground.
Right.
And get this, they've been increasing their dividends for 37 years straight.
Whoa, 37 years. That's wild.
Yeah. And their current yield is even a bit higher than Devon's. It's around 4.2%.
Wow. Okay.
Talk about reliability. Really.
Yeah, that's impressive. But I'm curious, wouldn't being involved in all those different areas, wouldn't that be super complex to manage?
It is, yeah.
How do they even stay profitable?
Well, Chevron is massive. True. And they've got a long history of navigating, the energy market. And one of their secrets...
Okay, what's the secret?
Low debt level.
Really?
Their debt-to-equity ratio is just 0.17 compared to Devon's 0.62.
Okay, and what does that even mean?
Think of it like a mortgage.
Okay, got it.
They have a really small mortgage compared to the value of their house.
Right.
That gives them more financial freedom.
Yeah.
They can make strategic moves and weather those market storms.
So they're not as vulnerable when prices drop.
Exactly.
That makes sense. So it sounds like this article is leaning towards Chevron for most investors.
It seems that way, yeah.
Especially for those who are after those nice, steady dividends.
Yeah, they're saying Chevron's diversification and that financial stability make it a safer bet for most people.
Right. Makes sense.
But they do say that Devon could be more appealing to those who are really, really confident that energy prices will keep going up. Oh, interesting. So it's like choosing between, I don't know, a slow and steady tortoise or a hare that could win big, but also might stumble along the way.
Exactly. It all comes down to, your personal investment goals and how much risk you're okay with.
Makes sense. But even with all this talk about, financial stability and profits,
Yeah.
I can't help but think about the bigger picture.
Right.
We're talking about oil companies here.
Uh-huh.
In a time when, climate change and the future of our planet, it's on everyone's minds.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's almost like we have to consider two different timelines.
Oh, interesting.
The immediate future of profits.
Right.
And then the long-term future of the planet.
I see.
It makes you wonder, can oil companies even be environmentally responsible?
That's the million-dollar question these days, isn't it?
It's a tough one, for sure. And it's something that Chevron and Devon, I mean, they're both grappling with it, right? Absolutely. As the whole world is, shifting towards those renewable energy sources like solar, wind, geothermal.
Yeah, it's like this massive transition.
It is.
Almost like a new industrial revolution.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
It is.
But it also makes things way more complicated for investors.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's not just about picking a company that's, doing well now.
Right.
It's about betting on their ability to adapt to this whole new energy world.
Absolutely. It's like trying to predict which surfer is going to ride the next big wave,
Yeah.
Both Chevron and Devon, they have this massive infrastructure for oil and gas production.
Right.
But they're also facing this increasing scrutiny, regulations around fossil fuels.
It's a real balancing act.
It is. So how do you, as an expert, how do you even evaluate these companies beyond, just their current financials? What are you looking for when it comes to their long-term, game plan? Well, I'm definitely interested in seeing if they're actually, putting their money where their mouth is when it comes to these renewables.
Right.
Are they investing in green technology?
Yeah.
Are they diversifying their portfolio beyond just oil and gas?
Right. And are they taking actual steps to reduce their environmental impact?
Yeah.
Because it's easy to say, oh, yeah, we're all about sustainability.
Right.
But are they actually walking the walk?
That's where things get really interesting. Because investors, they're becoming savvier.
Yeah.
They're not just looking for profits anymore.
Right.
They want companies that, align with their values.
Of course.
And that includes, that commitment to sustainability. It's not just this niche trend anymore.
Yeah, it's becoming the norm.
It's going mainstream.
So it sounds like these companies are starting to realize that they can't just ignore these concerns.
Yeah.
If they want to, keep attracting investors.
Absolutely.
And stay competitive.
They're realizing that sustainability can actually be good for business.
Right? Not just good for the planet.
Exactly.
So maybe there is that sweet spot where profitability and responsibility, they actually meet up.
I think so. I think there's a lot of hope there.
Yeah.
And honestly, we are seeing some really exciting developments in the renewable energy sector.
Yeah, for sure.
The technology, it's advancing so rapidly.
It's crazy how fast it's all happening.
From solar and wind to even things like wave energy.
Wow.
The possibilities they're incredible.
It feels like a whole new frontier, for investors too.
It is.
Instead of just riding that roller coaster of oil prices.
Right.
You can be part of building this new, more sustainable energy future.
I love that. That's a great way to put it. And I think it's a really empowering message for investors,
Yeah.
You're not just passively watching the market anymore. You actually have the ability to influence it.
Totally.
By choosing companies that are actively working towards a better future.
I like that. Okay, so as we kind of wrap up this part of our deep dive, what's the key takeaway for our listeners who are, maybe thinking about adding some oil stocks to their portfolio? Should they be considering these long-term trends as much as those short-term gains?
Oh, absolutely. It's looking at a map before you start a road trip.
Yeah.
You got to know where you're going and what kind of terrain to expect along the way.
Right.
Don't just chase those short-term gains.
Okay.
Think about the long-term impact of your investments.
And the type of future you want to help create.
Exactly. Ask yourself, what kind of world do you want to live in?
Yeah.
How can your investments help build that world?
It really makes you think, doesn't it? It's not just about numbers, it's about our impact,
Right. And, we started this whole conversation just comparing Chevron and Devon, kind of like a straight up financial thing, right? Looking at dividends and debt, how they handle those crazy oil prices.
Yeah, exactly.
But then it's whoa, it's so much bigger than that.
Totally. This whole ethical side of things, right?
Yeah.
How are they impacting the environment?
Absolutely.
And how are they dealing with this huge shift to renewable energy?
It is kind of wild how all this stuff connects.
Yeah.
Financial markets, politics, climate change, it's all woven together.
Totally. And it feels like as investors, we're not just, sitting on the sidelines.
Right.
We're actually part of this whole thing.
Exactly. Yeah. We're voting with our dollars,
Yeah.
Supporting companies and a future that, we believe in.
I like that.
Right.
So as we wrap things up here, what's the one big thing you hope people listening will take away from all this?
I hope they remember that investing, it's not just about picking stocks.
Yeah.
It's about consciously creating the future.
Cool.
Asking those hard questions, What kind of world do I want to see? How can my investments help make that happen? What kind of legacy do I want to leave behind?
That's a powerful way to put it.
Yeah.
It's like it goes beyond just the money.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
It's about recognizing we all have a choice, and we can use those choices to build a better world, a world that's, more sustainable and fair.
Absolutely. Every investment, it's like planting a seed. And the harvest, well, that depends on what we choose to plant today.
That's some great advice. Well, it's been awesome diving deep into this with you. And for everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this journey. Keep asking those tough questions. And remember, knowledge is power.